Welcome to episode 1 of How Marvelous. I am J.R. Sweany.
Oh god, is that my turn? I am Mikki Lexa.
And I'm Max. Coker.
Okay, I was like, no fixed address? Like, what's happening?
His name is Max.
I am.
That's it.
But only Max.
He's here to save the future.
Maxford. Yeah. So, welcome to the first episode of our thing we're doing here. We talk about What If, starting from the first issue of Volume 1. And it's going to be a rollicking good time. So, yeah. Here we go. So we start, of course, with What If, Volume 1, Number 1, from February of 1977. What If Spider-Man had joined the Fantastic Four, which is written by Roy Thomas, penciled by Jim Craig, inked by Pablo Marcos, colored by Janice Cohen, and lettered by John Costanza. I will say real quick, I guess this had grown out of just Roy Thomas wanting to sort of play around in the Marvel Universe and not be tied down quite so much with the you can't do this with this character because we're planning something else for them. The title, I guess, came from something Stan Lee would generally just say in meetings, where it was just like, hey, what if, Cap was a werewolf, or, whatever, fuck it. So, yeah. And it, honestly, this was, personally growing up, this was one of my favorite series. I always enjoyed reading it, even if I had no idea what the actual story was about. I keep bringing it up, but I think there's an issue that's like Atlantis Attacks or something like that, and I still don't think I've read the entire Atlantis Attacks storyline.
That wonderful thing that used to happen with reading comic books, where you'd find the first half for $1 in a box somewhere. You'd read it, and you would never, ever in your entire life know how it ends. It doesn't matter because it's just a one-off, but the part of your soul is missing.
Well, and especially that one was during that period where they would do major storylines, but they would be spread out across the annuals that year. So it would be like, this starts in Submariner. Like, why the fuck am I reading Submariner? And then it's over here in X-Men for a minute, and then what's this? We're on over to what was that, Dreamwalker or whatever?
Oh my God.
It would cross over into books you had no interest in buying, and neither did anybody else, so you could not find those tie-ins. But whatever.
That's the true name of it. It's not What If, it's Whatever.
Right.
And truly, with this first episode, they let their imagination run wild. What if Spider-Man was in the Fantastic Four? What a crazy idea!
Right. Well, yeah. What if Ben Grimm had really just terrible notions about women?
And it's the writer. It's really, if Spider-Man was in the Fantastic Four? Well, then surely we'd have no need for Sue.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It has nothing to do with a marriage or anything, because clearly Reed has eyes for Peter.
Right.
Likes him young and scientific.
Yeah. Sue was really only ever there to keep him from fucking Johnny. But anyway, so this issue, we start out, and we've got the standard intro by the Watcher, and I really kind of miss this. This was always kind of a nice touchstone for each issue that I really kind of missed once they did away with it in later issues. But he does his standard, like, I am the Watcher. I am sworn never to interfere unless I'm really bored, and Game of Thrones has not yet come back. But he introduces the idea of alternate universes in case this is your first comic book. And
but also he plays narrator throughout, which is fun,
right.
Which is fun and good because it, like, at least for me, it reminds me like where the deviations are, right? Like
right, and that's one thing when I was reading number 4 to get ready for this, where it was just like I kept kind of waiting for like, okay, where's the divergence, and then I'm just like, oh, there isn't one. Okay, fuck you then. I don't know, what are we even doing?
Yeah, like, no, it was that was the most kind of fuck you issue I've ever read of what if in my entire life, and yet it was the 4th issue they ever created. Yep. That's just bizarre.
Yeah. So yeah, but so the version do what?
What?
I'm sorry, I don't know.
Can we talk about how jacked up this version of the Watcher is?
Yeah,
he is ripped to hell, and his head is enormous.
Yeah, because I really like if you're doing the Watcher, you've either got to go just bald dude, or you've got to go basically like pink skinned gray alien.
Personally, I think it's a matter of like you have to have his head be 50% of his body.
Right.
Do anything else, that head better be 50% of his body mass.
Right. Right. Because otherwise, yeah, he really does, especially in these early issues, he looks really fucked up. I don't know. I always feel like the more alien that they can make him, the better. Simply because otherwise, he literally just is a dude. He's just a dude, like, hanging out and watching just all the time. Like, at one point I was joking around about doing, like, a spoof of Marvel that actually just had, like, the Watcher, but he was just, like, hiding behind a plant and just like, hey, what you guys doing? Hey, like, you know,
I'm watching,
and he would be called the voyeur, and you literally have to change nothing about him to get to that.
That's the Max Comics version of the Watcher.
Yeah. It's Garth Ennis's version where it's just some goddamn creeper. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then by the end of it, Frank kills him.
Yeah. His hand is under the robes, but not because he's like holding him up. He's just anyway. What is it? There's a sound like a small dog enthusiastically eating pancakes.
Jesus.
Anyway, so the regular version of this, the version of events that we see playing out in the 616 universe is that in Amazing Spider-Man #1, the character's second appearance, he is like, fuck it, I need money, I will go and join the Fantastic Four. So he comes up with, you know, this is one of the things I love about Peter, is that early Peter is a fucking lunatic.
Oh, he's such an asshole.
He is. Yeah, he's literally, you know, there's just so many things he does that you walk a fine line between youthful stupidity and full-blown supervillainy. And this is one of those examples because he's just like, how can I prove to the Fantastic Four that I'm like deserving of a spot on the team? I know, I'll break into their house. Maybe I can take pictures of them while they sleep, and that'll prove to them that I'm stealthy. Like, no, man, what are you doing?
He's the greatest creeper. And I guess that makes sense as a spider.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, hey, I'm just gonna hang out in your house and eat bugs and watch you poop. Like, it's a perfectly normal thing.
So I've got a question about the opening sequence here as Peter ventures to break into the Fantastic Four's house. Is this dialogue like ripped directly from Spider-Man #1, or is it a generous imitation? Because the way that he talks up until the deviation point is so if it's an imitation, holy shit, it's good. Like, because he sounds insane.
I'm fairly certain it's just a copy.
Okay,
like with a few things omitted.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure what dialogue they could lift directly from the issue. I haven't compared the two.
Sure.
There's also like small issues of like he makes the tightrope out of the web instead of just swinging over there.
Right.
It's such an early idea of just like, I'll make a tightrope. And I feel like if they were going to change something, they would have changed that, because it's just so like, what the hell, tightrope? Why would we?
All of the things you could do
swing
with
in
this,
dramatically,
and this is what you do.
But like,
genius.
I feel like they dropped him announcing to his foe or fellow superhero that he has the proportionate strength of a spider. Like they dropped that by issue 30 and looked back on it like, oh, that was real dumb. None of that makes sense.
I love that he says as if like in the heat of battle that's supposed to mean anything. Wait, I'm going to stop and try to do some quick head math while you punch me in the face. Wow, that absolutely was the proportionate strength of a spider to my face.
It works. It scales up. Yeah, wow.
That's perfect. Thank you, really... Spider-Man.
Oh, dear. I appear to have lost some teeth. Pardon me.
So he breaks into a window. If you haven't read the issue, he breaks in to a window, but the FF know he's coming. They slam a plexiglass, like, half cylinder barrier in front of him, and then a steel barrier behind him.
$1,000 trap for this very specific purpose.
Yeah.
Oh, there is so much of that in Fantastic Four.
It's just like, I happen to have the one thing on hand that could prevent this very narrow situation that no rational person could ever predict.
I mean, at least with Tony, it makes sense. Sorry. At least with Tony, it makes sense because he has a fucking compound of people working on several different weirdly specific problems at a time. So, like, if it turns out he needs a dude to reprogram a machine that will turn the Grey Ghost back into a human, okay, of course you had that. I believe you. Why did you specifically have this, Reed? What is with you?
Yeah, how much of your life is spent in a lab, Reed? I know it's ridiculous, but you have to at some point sleep.
Or, like, we know he has a couple of kids, like...
No, he engineered those. Reed Richards is a virgin.
I am easy to convince on that.
I believe that.
So he breaks in.
I'll tell you... Sorry, go ahead.
So he breaks in, they stop him, they let him out, because he just wants to talk, and immediately him and Ben, or Spider-Man and Ben, start fighting.
As you do.
Everybody starts fighting everybody. Blah, 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 blah. Eventually, the thing I do like is Reed's the one that chills shit out by just getting seemingly enormous, but probably very flimsy. And
that is a nightmarish looking Reed Richards, by the way. That like the proportions are so wrong. It's something out of Beetlejuice.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's some weird geometry that makes no sense. Like, yeah.
And then to continue Spider-Man's psychosis, he's like, okay, I'm sorry, we'll stop fighting. I just had one question. How much does the job pay? And they're like, what the fuck are you even talking about?
Right? It's like, who the hell are you? Just broke in. What in the hell? Is this how people in the 60s and 70s used to apply for jobs? You just like, okay, you want to be a cop? Go beat up a cop. That's how you become a cop.
Yeah.
You want to take over
rules.
A bank?
Gang rules all the way down.
Gang rules.
My mom actually got her first job by taking her boss's family hostage. But the thing about it is, so like in the normal flow of events, Peter's just like, I need a job and I can do this. You guys need me and money. And they're like, we don't get paid. Our expenses are paid, and like we all of our money goes back into scientific development and stuff like that. And Peter is just like, huh, okay, fuck y'all, and goes home.
Yeah, I like how their answer more or less is, we're independently wealthy.
Yeah.
But in this version, Peter is getting ready to leave when Sue's just like, wait a minute. And so they bring him back in and they're just like, well,
Oh, no. Hold on.
No.
We can't skip this incredible 1 page of absolute wasted content in which the watcher has to explain to a very early audience how multiple dimensions work in the most simplistic way possible.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah. Yeah, and I... It's funny because, like, one of the things he brings up is the reality where, like, Reed Richards becomes the Thing, and so on and so forth. And having read that, if you're trying to sell people on the idea of alternate realities, that story is not one to go with.
I like that.
That sucks so hard. Oh my god. The three-way war between the various Earths, fuck that story.
Okay, that story... Okay, wait. I liked the pathos that... I'm using that word wrong. I liked that Reed as Ben... No, in the first one. The very first initial one. Not the three-way war. The very first story. That was good. The three-way war sucked.
The point at which this came out, the most recent appearance of Reed Richards as the Thing would have been the round robin War of the Earths.
Yeah, that
bullshit.
Sucked.
And so,
the one
like,
before
that's
that
not
was cool.
That's not how you get people on board. Like Squadron Supreme, okay, sure. Kill Raven, cool.
Yeah, but
I like that they included Superman punching him in the face.
That was sweet.
They did mention that, which was pretty cool.
But even Deathlock being part of a technically parallel universe, sort of.
It's an alternate future.
Yeah.
I mean, it has its own Earth designation, so it counts.
Okay.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
So, in the new version of events, this is, and I think I'm trying to see, this was Earth 721, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah. Earth 721, Sue calls Peter back when he is just like, no money? Okay, bye. And she's just like, wait a minute. We've been talking about changing the way we do things, so maybe we can work something out. And so what winds up happening is they wind up putting on a press conference in which they're just like, here's our newest member, Spider-Man. And J. Jonah Jameson, of course, is just like, what? No, this is bullshit. This guy's an asshole, and he tried to kill my son, and blah, blah, blah. And Reed is just like, I have friends at NASA who will vouch for him. And that's literally all it takes to shut Jameson the fuck up. Because he's literally just like...
Oh, it was amazing. I've never seen him bend over that quickly.
Yeah,
I mean, like... Jameson's a worm, but oh my god.
Yeah, like, I mean, admittedly, this is fairly early on in Spider-Man's career, so he hasn't had a chance to develop quite the depth of hatred that he has later. But still, you'd expect Jameson to just be at least be like, who at NASA? Like, something, instead of just being like, oh, NASA, okay, no, that's cool, that's cool.
But also...
Sorry about everything.
When Reed says, I have friends at NASA, you just assume it's all of them. Like...
Yeah, all of NASA. I am friend with NASA.
Yeah, exactly.
Excuse me out of my way, I am friend with NASA. No, what I especially love about this is... someone asks Jameson for proof, and he goes, "Proof? Here, I made it up myself. It's proof."
Yeah,
proven.
Yeah. Well,
you can read it in my own paper. I'm like, it's your paper, though. That's not a thing.
Proven.
Yeah. So, there's some bits. Yeah. There's some really fairly mundane stuff in which, you know, you see like Chameleon just being like, oh, well, I was gonna try and go after Spider-Man, but I guess I won't, and stuff like that. There's bits with like Vulture
handing the Vulture his absolute ass.
Oh yeah,
because...
like as much as like a teenager with super strength beating on an old man is kind of one-sided. This especially, it's just like America's premier super team beats the shit out of an octogenarian.
like slightly burns him, tosses him from the sky. No, it's fantastic. Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah. Ah!
Yeah. But then we get the Fantastic Four going to the blue area of the moon to deal with the Red Ghost, which is if you've not read the original story, is kind of interesting, but it's funny because it's literally like they're trying to figure out, okay, so we've only got 4 seats, and Reed is literally just like, well, obviously Sue's staying behind, and everybody's just like, well, yeah. Duh. And the
thing that's kind of cool with this versus like Sue at that time, like the story that they're changing, is that we get a little more of like what she's thinking about, which we didn't. Never would have given it. Like they would not have given a shit.
No, right.
It would have been like, Sue, you're not going, and she would have been like, great, I get to bake cookies or whatever. In this one, she's actually
it's just like I'll make sure dinner's ready. Like
in this one, she's like, I really wish I were going. Like this sounds fun, and I think I could be helpful. And you're like, fuck, because you would be helpful, like really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he would be like an excellent addition. But you know that when they get back and, Sue's prepared dinner, she spit in that. She just spits so much in that. The main ingredient is spit.
If you're lucky.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, that's the only bodily fluid in there.
I was going to go Lady Vengeance, just half a gallon of bleach.
Yeah. But, so they go to the moon and they deal with Red Ghost, and it's easy because it's Red Ghost.
God, that's a stupid villain.
Do what?
That is a stupid villain. I mean, I actually had to look him up. He's so damn useless. But I do not. There are aspects of older comics that are understandable. There are aspects that are enjoyable. I do not have any fucks to give for giant or intelligent apes.
It was a whole thing.
It was a thing. Thanks, Julian Schwartzman or whatever.
Yeah.
It was one of those things, like, his initial super apes, it's like, okay, this is a result of circumstance. But, like, after a while, after, like, the third batch of apes, you just have to be like, so this is a sex thing, right?
Yeah,
like, you're fucking the apes.
Dude.
What
was that last week? He showed up they showed up in it was Iron Man. And really, by the time he confronts the Red Ghost, you need to be like, so what's with the apes, dude? Like, yeah. I mean, we're in your sub. You can tell me. You're gonna kill me.
He has the shape-shifting one. He has the shape-shifting one. You know he's just been like, hey, spider monkey, form of fleshlight. Like, but yeah, no, the Red Ghost, fuck it, whatever. He is relevant only because he leads to the central conflict of this, which is, while they're gone, Sue doesn't even have a chance to piss in their soup.
Yeah.
Because she is compelled to go out and meet Namor, and they go under the sea.
Yeah.
And so,
not at all a problematic scene of Namor kidnapping her against her will. Just fantastic.
Early Namor is a Me Too moment, just left, right, and center.
He's the worst parts of the 40s.
Yeah, he is. It's just like everything Namor does, you're just like, ooh, no, dude, no, that's not. Look, okay, I guess Atlantis has to have another seminar. Okay, do ask permission. Don't stick her in a bubble and have her attacked by a giant clam.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
just a few basic things.
Turns out. Do what?
Just a few basic things.
Right. Generally speaking, enthusiastic consent does not involve being coerced by a giant squid. And there's a hypnofish. Why is there a hypnofish?
Yeah.
Don't tell me.
Before we can find out why there is, we meet our fourth or fifth villain of this comic.
Yeah. Which Puppet Master is already a creepy motherfucker on like every level. The big weird doll eyes with the giant lashes and everything. I'm just like, this is like a child's drawing of a sex offender. This is
exactly.
Like,
make as many assumptions as you want about this man. They're all right.
Not only are they all right, you haven't even scratched the surface of the depravity that has occurred with this dude. Like, this is the kind of thing of, like, you think maybe your kid has been touched by someone, and then they start drawing this, and you're like, oh, that's the guy. That has to be the guy.
Just, okay, it's not only a sex offender, but we're in an 80s horror movie, and he's going to come to kill you tonight.
Right.
But
he's
also
going to have, like, a gnarled hook.
When your child starts to draw this man, you start to be like, oh no, this is my fault. Because if I were a better parent, my child would never be near this person. Ever.
Right. But so the upshot of all of this is the Puppet Master is trying to get revenge on the Fantastic Five now through Namor. And so he has coerced Namor into doing what Namor does anyway. I assume that was probably pretty easy. Like he just had to be like, he had to take his little doll of Namor and just be like, go commit date rape. And
Namor's like, I was going to anyway.
Yeah. Namor's just like, Namor just had to change his target. Like, that's all. Like, he was already on his way to pay a visit to Valkyrie or something. And he's just like, oh, Sue Storm? All right. I'm sorry. Anyway, so the upshot of all of this is the remaining members of the Fantastic Five make their way to Atlantis, and I really enjoy how slapdick this is early on, because it's literally, they just go into the Atlantic Ocean and they're just like, I don't know, we'll just putter around down here until we find him. Like, it's not one of the world's largest bodies of water, but whatever.
Well, and
so
he even says, well, there's an editor's note, or I guess a watcher's note, that's like, this is before he found the rest of the Atlanteans. Like, Namor had not rejoined because he hadn't found him yet.
Right.
And
so he's one dude.
So like even harder to find, because it's not some stationary giant civilization. It's one fish guy in the entire Atlantic.
Giant and gleaming and, glinting in the distance. No. It's just Namor in his
It's
rape
the
grotto.
Atlantean equivalent of a lone condo. Yeah. Just like in the Marianas Trench, just like, yeah, like it's in a great school district if I ever find the one. My neighbor is this really great anemone. Anyway, so what winds up happening is they go and they confront Namor, and we've got all this bullshit with like various fish pals that he uses to fight the Fantastic Five. A fungus that grows over, which he did have in one of their run-ins. The hypnofish, I think, makes it was either here or when he actually abducts Sue that the hypnofish comes in. But anyway, the upshot is they go up against him, and meanwhile Sue is in this tank of water trying to fight with a giant, was it a squid or an octopus?
I only see 4 tentacles, so neither.
I'm gonna go half an octopus.
half an octopus. Like,
come on, Sue, if you can't fight off half an octopus.
What are we even doing here?
It was an octopus who was in the war.
Now I feel bad.
Oh, I'm sorry.
My favorite bit of this fight.
Ben is beating the shit out of a veteran.
My favorite bit of this fight, though, is Johnny at one point takes off after Namor, and he's got like an American Gladiators style joust rod. And he's like, this is made of a specific kind of sponge that eats heat. And he's like, what? And Johnny fires a giant fire blast at him. And the sponge sucks it all up to the point that it just starts siphoning heat directly off of Johnny. And he's just like, I didn't believe you. Bam!
Well, like it's not just it doesn't just absorb heat. It's the flame eater. It's an underwater thing that has evolved to eat fire underwater.
That's a very specific kind of fire. You would need phosphorus.
But hey, I mean, let's be real. If a fire is bad enough that like you're like if you are a sponge and you like fall asleep with a cigarette in your mouth, and the fire is bad enough that it's still burning underwater, like that, I guess that could be useful. But I don't know, this whole thing, whatever. Ben is delightfully misogynistic here.
Oh my god!
Because first of all, he refers to Sue as a female, which if Twitter has taught me anything, it's that any dude who says female in like normal conversation, that dude's a mess. That's a man that hates women.
This is a man who his only romantic relationship was initially based off lying to the woman about his very appearance and like chemical makeup.
Yeah.
Yep.
He wouldn't let her know that he's a giant rock monster.
Whatever.
His insecurities are just astounding. All right.
Incredible.
So the upshot of all of this is that they save Sue, but because she's a flighty broad, she winds up just being like, "You guys don't need me anymore. I'm gonna stay with Namor."
Well, you're skipping the part where they figure. You're skipping the part where they figure out that it's Puppet Master.
Oh well, yeah. I'm sorry.
It doesn't matter, but like. So,
but this is also what happens in the original. This run-in between Puppet Master. Basically, every run-in with Puppet Master for many years involved him seemingly dying each time. But like, yeah, the veteran octopus breaks loose of the shell of this underwater base and starts attacking the Puppet Master's sub. The Puppet Master tries to make a puppet of the octopus, but even though he may have succeeded, as the issue tells us, you can't control what is essentially mindless anyway. Which, okay. But in the end,
wouldn't it be easier to do that?
You would think you're not trying to overwrite any sort of will. You'd think he wouldn't even need radioactive clay. He would just need like a really stern demeanor. Like he could just be like, "Hey, knock it off."
Quit.
And the octopus would just be like, "Oh, sorry, my bad."
Like
yeah.
a 50s
No, what I figure happened is he assumed it was a regular octopus, and so he made 8 tentacles. And this veteran octopus comes along, and it just doesn't work.
Four
can't
tentacles
possess
and one
veterans.
eye. So, yeah,
exactly. So there's an actual other octopus out there somewhere with all the tentacles that was just like freaking out right now.
Actually,
right.
I'm just looking at
this
the panels
octopus
again,
was.
And you're right. At any one time, I could
4.
count no more than 4.
Yeah.
It's a
Splendid
quadrupus.
job, guys. Splendid artistic endeavor.
This is one of the few times I'm sure that octopus was glad it left half itself back in Nam. But
okay, so Sue.
So there's water rushing in, and Johnny and Peter close up the seal, and Sue's like, "Nope." Like Reed and Namor are posturing, and Sue's just like, "Nope, I have to be the one to decide this," and Reed doesn't really need me, so I'm gonna go with Namor. And Reed's like, but Sue," and so Namor does this, has Sue walk into a giant shell, and frankly, I think if I ever build a giant super scientific apparatus, I'm going to make it shell-shaped for no other reason than because fuck it, I can. So she walks inside.
You know, like, he's not only an inventor, he's a designer.
Right.
He's a designer at heart.
Yeah. I mean, he's a true Renaissance fish man.
My name is
Without
Namor,
pants.
and interior design is my passion.
Interior design and crushing the human race. really,
interior
those
design,
two.
crushing the human race, and convincing women who I kidnapped to come with me.
Blondes, especially blondes all the way, because it was her and then also Emma Frost. They revealed, so yeah.
Oh my god, I forgot about her.
Yeah, he has a type.
But
so anyway,
so she decides she's staying with Namor. Namor turns her into a fish lady. Has to break open the side of the compound so that more of the seawater comes in. Everybody else
by throwing his incredible invention through the window.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're never gonna need that one again.
No, one and done.
So, but on the way back,
I hope she doesn't change her mind at any point. Like,
on the way
it'll
back,
just be like,
Ben's like, "Hey, Reed, so shitty break, man. Sorry." And Reed's like, "Nope, that was her decision, and I just have to live with it." And I'm like, "Okay, bullshit. The whole thing's bullshit. No. Mm-hmm. This is where I call bullshit, because there is no way Reed Richards reacts that way."
Yeah, this is a bullshit Reed Richards. He clearly doesn't give two shits about Sue. And like Reed, in the early days, Reed only gave 3 shits about Sue. Not too much, but he at least cared to have her around.
Yeah. This is actually, I was thinking bullshit because he seemed to respect her wishes at all. And that's the part that I don't buy, right? Like, either when he wants her around or when he doesn't want her around, her opinion is invalid. So this is the only.
Well, I mean, we're talking about the guy who told her that women are not to be heard; they're to be kissed. So
I forgot about that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, Reed.
Yeah, Reed Richards, feminist.
I maintain that Reed is at most 5 steps away from many different kinds of villainy. He's never all the way there, but like they're almost in arm's reach.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I like the Makers so much, because they finally just went, no, seriously, Reed Richards hates you, and if you just let him do his own thing, what he would do, you and your petty morality would consider to be villainous.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Meanwhile, he's Reed Richards.
Yeah. Well, yeah. All
right, so everybody leaves. Spider-Man feels bad about breaking up the Fantastic Four, and Johnny's like, no, you're the Fantastic Four now, bud. And they're all cool. And the Watcher's like, this never happened, bye.
Yeah. Yep.
Good night, everybody. Okay.
Yeah. And it's literally like, him on the moon, just like, his arm is, he's in silhouette in the last panel. And he's just like, I don't know. It's one of those things. It's such a weird pose to just be in for any length of time. But across several panels, it's even weirder because he's just like, it's literally, he puts his hand up and he's like, and in each of them, men and women must make choices. Choice will affect their own destinies and perhaps that of the universe. I know, for I am the Watcher. So join us next time. And it's just like, you can put your hand down, dude. Just put it down. Come on.
That's too many sentences.
Yeah.
Oh no, I love how gloriously old this is, in the sense of there are about 7 different stories in this one story.
Yes.
And every single panel is absolutely packed with 5 paragraphs.
Yeah, it is. If this issue were to come out now, this would be 2 full miniseries. Like, it would just be like, what if Spider-Man had joined the Fantastic Four? Number 1 of 12. And then, like, you know, he would finally join. The first issue would be like, here's the version you know. And then issue 2 would be like, okay, but what if this happened? And then issue 3, we might see the Red Ghost for like a minute. It would be a cliffhanger ending. It'd just be like, the Red Ghost! And people would be like, who? And, you know... And then, yeah, you wouldn't even... Namor wouldn't even show up until issue, like, 8. And, yeah, it would, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Decompressed
you can
storytelling.
easily get a full year out of this.
At least.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? Oh, man. My kid could go to college before that storyline finished. Anyway, but yeah. No, it's a good issue and a reasonably strong beginning. I like there are definitely better issues of What If out there, but by the same token, like I think if What If the Invaders hadn't split up after World War II had been issue 1, I'd have been like, nope, this is not for me. Bye. Like. Yeah. So.
Yeah, definitely would have bailed if there was a less par story. Like, it's not a good story, but it's on par. It's,
right.
Hey, you want to see some stuff that didn't happen? Here you go. I know this is all new to you, so we're not going to try to blow your goddamn mind or something.
Right.
Well, but also,
it's
par is a very good term because it's like, okay, before we get real weird, this is the kind of thing we're talking about, and it's
we're just gonna dip our toe into the concept.
This is not hardcore. We don't have to like worry about like Hitler won the war or anything like that. It's just what if Spider-Man turned around and went back? And
well, like I like that you used that specific example because at the beginning, as one of his examples of alternate universes, he's like, "What if World War II ended a bit later?"
Yeah,
not just like the Nazis won. No, it's like no, it just ended a bit later.
One guy slept in, and so like the end of the war was pushed back by like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Not much changes,
Sorry
but like
about that.
enough to make for an interesting story. Trust us, this is going to be really cool. So anyway, so next issue we're going to be looking at what if the Hulk had always had Bruce Banner's brain, which, you know, if you've seen Endgame, you know how that works out. So, but join us anyway. We've got, I guess I should point out, we do have a Twitter account set up for this show, as well as a Facebook page. So give us a like, give us a follow. You'll be informed of new episodes and any other bullshit we decide to throw your way. So yeah. Bye.